My name is Mrs. Loveth, and I want to do a brief summary about African history. African, as it is known today, has been labeled the dark continent, backward, primitive, underdeveloped by the Western world, tagged as primitive. But this was not so in the beginning, as African was simply a victim of circumstances. Before the coming of the Europeans to Africa, there were great kingdoms who did well at that time. For example, Benin Empire, the Oyo Empire, the Mali Empire, Songhai Empire, the Ashanti in Ashanti Kingdom, the Okbobos of the Okbobos nation, Egypt, the cradle of civilization. The coming of the Europeans destabilized the growth of Africa as it were at that time. For example, the transatlantic slave trade, which existed for 3 centuries, from the 16th centuries to the 19th century. It took men, everybody, young men, young women, children from their homes. Parents were taken from their children, children was taken from their parents. This affected Africa inversely, as it negatively, and its impact is felt till today. So the Euro-African relations has been of exploitation, has been of oppression, and have been of deprivation. By the time Africa were taken to the New World, they were used as laborers in sugar plantation in the New World called America. The women were used as sex slaves. But as it were, the slave trade was abolished in the 19th century. But the exploitation of Europe or the Western world in Africa still continued via the era of imperialism. This was when it was no longer a physical relation, rather, it was now from distance. Lagos, for example, was made a crown colony, that is an extension of British territory in 1861. That was an example of imperialism. From there, Africa was now partitioned, shared among European powers in what became the Berlin Conference in 1884 to 1885. Africa was shared. This led to the concept of Francophone nations, Anglophone nations, and Lusophone nations. This led to division. This led to a challenge of the brotherhood Africa that existed in Africa prior to this time. Well, the era of colonialism began via that conference. As it were, as it was developed, exploitation continued. But there became a time in the 1940s, there were challenge against colonialism, against oppression. This became known as Pan-Africanism or Pan-Negroism, fighting for the African race, for the black race. For example, Africans in the diaspora, e.g. Marcus Garvey with Garveyism, back to African movement. Africa in the continent fighting against colonial rule, the Zikis movement, the Awoism of this world, the Kwame Nkrumah with the idea of United Nations of Africa. They all fought toothlessly against colonial rule. In the 60s, Africa started gaining independence, free from colonial physically. This led to the formation of OAU, Organization of African Unity and Necessity, to foster the independence of Africans who were still under colonial rule, to bring about unity and to harmony in Africa. But this was not to be. Though Africans later get independence from Korea, that was fake. But mentally, socially, economically, Africa as still colonized. This was what Kwame Nkrumah called the idea of neo-colonialism, still ruling Africa from aside. The multilateral nations are still economically, we are still tied to our mental, we are still mental slaves to the Western world. Africans today have white hearts, white body, white spirit in black skin. This is a challenge. There is still a fight to get independence or to get true freedom from this from the exploitation that has existed for centuries and has continued to exist. This was why OAU was transformed to AU, African Union, in 2002. There were some challenges like coup d'etats, corruption, personality clashes, new colonialism sentiment. There are still challenges in Africa today that have been set back. That has been a stumbling block to development in Africa. But I believe that one day, Africa will be a land of honey. Thank you. That is my little presentation.